Q&A for those of you that have been doing this for a while or long enough. What microphone perhaps did you start with that worked well for you that you would recommend to someone looking for their first microphone? And and I just want to throw this out there, and I'm sure we'll touch on this a few times, but keeping in mind that having a good microphone is a great thing, and it might take you a couple tries to find a great microphone. And we'll make some recommendations to hopefully, your first microphone is a great microphone. But more importantly, your space is more important than any software, hardware that you choose. Because if you chose a $30 microphone, or if you're trying to make a decision between a $30 microphone and a $1,000 microphone, that $30 microphone is going to reflect your bad room treatment, whereas your $1,000 microphone is really greatly going to enhance the sound of that bad, meaning not a good thing. It's going to make your badly treated room sound even worse. So even if you start with a $30 microphone, is there even a $30 microphone? Probably a $50 mic. Regardless, I'm pumping the brakes on that tangent. Okay, so that $50 microphone is really, don't get hung up on expensive equipment. And we also wanted to touch on that today too, is that you don't have to start out with, a Sennheiser 416. You just don't. There's a lot of great microphone options out there, and they don't have to be brand new. You can start out with a secondhand microphone, right? If your little brother does podcasting or whatever, just take one of his old microphones and start with that. But more importantly, treat your room. And then as you start to see some income and start to understand more about, quality and technical aspects and things, then maybe, upgrade your microphone. That's usually the natural progression of things. It's how I did it, and everybody else I know. You started out with just something, and then as you started to move along, you would upgrade your microphone, and then at some point you'll have multiple microphones, which isn't a bad thing. But I know some of you are on the cusp of or are deep into microphone addiction, which I know is very easy to do too. But having backups is a good thing. So any microphone that I have upgraded, purchased, any interface that I have replaced, I've always kept the older piece. Unless it's broken, then, there's not much you can do about it. But if you're just upgrading, save the old stuff, because you never know when the new piece is going to have an issue and you need something to work with. Wanted to throw that out there too. So I always keep my old stuff for backups. All right, so it looks like we're still editing and mastering is the biggest hang-up. Okay, so then we'll talk about editing and mastering. Now, I do have to say that there are a handful of DAWs out there that you can choose from to record and edit with. So editing and mastering is also going to be, or how you edit and master is going to be also dependent on which DAW you choose, because the verbiage on these DAWs may differ slightly. So anything I say today, I am referring to using Adobe Audition because that is the DAW that I use. But there is also Reaper, which is also a great choice for a DAW. Audacity is what I started with, and I think most people start with because it's free. And if, what's wrong with free? There's nothing wrong with free. It's a great DAW for free. It's got, I think every DAW has its pros and cons, but I think the reason I switched to Adobe Audition because it seemed to me a little bit more intuitive and easy to use. Whereas some of the things that frustrated me the most about Audacity were non-issues with Adobe Audition. So it saved frustration and time, lots of time. But again, Audacity is not a bad DAW to use, especially for being free. But I'd say those are the big three in terms of DAWs. Reaper and Adobe Audition, most of the time I've seen there's some sort of a trial that you can do with them. So I would say try them all and see which one sort of, works best for you, which one that you feel most comfortable with. They're all going to be foreign to you in the beginning. So if they don't make any sense at all, don't don't get down on yourself. You're basically learning a new language. But what you're looking for is ease of use. Try them out. Record a little something. Try to edit a little something. Export a file or save a file. Just go through the basic motions in each of the DAWs and see which one of them feels right to you, which one is a little bit easier to understand for you. And then choose that one. Because the DAW is, your recording software is going to be something you're going to be using every day, potentially, for years. With everything that you audition with, everything that every project that you create. So it's important to choose one that you feel comfortable with and learn it. Editing and mastering. What else can we talk about editing and mastering that's sort of broad? I will have to say that if you're looking for specific DAW features, your best bet for editing and mastering is to start with YouTube. Start with YouTube University and search up the DAW that you have chosen and what you're trying to do. There are tons of videos for each DAW. I did a lot of learning about Adobe Audition just by using YouTube. If you have chosen Adobe Audition, I myself have quite a few videos here on my channel where I go through the basic procedures, features, steps of using Adobe Audition. But there are also great creators out there that go through the basics with Audacity and Reaper as well. Or you can join groups. As I always say, one of the best things that you can do as a beginning voice artist or audiobook narrator is to join groups, whether that be on Facebook or if you have like TikTok or Instagram, start following other voice actors. They'll give great tips on these things. What is going on outside? Anyway, I don't know what's happening outside. I think they're throwing around gravel or something. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Sorry. Squirrel. Join groups. So distracting. Join groups, even masterminds, workshops, things like that, where you have peers, people of all different experience levels and all different DAW users can give you tips on what they have done with editing and mastering. God, that was so weird. I think they're tossing around gravel or something outside. It's the apocalypse, yeah. I don't know what's going on. They're like right on the other side of my wall here. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but anyway, it's creepy. Yeah, Adobe Audition is probably one of the DAWs that I recommend most often. It just totally like blew my inertia. What else can we talk about? That was the other thing. So YouTube University groups or hiring an audio engineer. If you want to just cut through all of the madness, all of the time, all of the frustration, trying to figure it out yourself, hire an audio engineer who is proficient with one of these DAWs. And most of the time, they will have their own tutorial videos that you can go through that will explain A to Z how this DAW works. And then also, sometimes, in addition, will include some sort of a one-on-one where they can walk you through how to use your DAW and also create a rack preset for you. That is exactly what I did, but it took me about 2 years to do it. I finally reached out to Tim Tippett, and he created some shortcuts for me with Adobe Audition, and also created a preset rack, just completely dependent on using my room, my setup, this microphone, all of the things. So that saved me a whole lot of time. But those are probably the best things that you can do, because editing and mastering is going to be pretty individual. So those are the best things that I can offer you. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of comments about editing and mastering. Let's get into the comments, because we're about 13 minutes in already, and then we can definitely touch on treating some room treatment effects, and then also answer some questions, because I have a feeling there's going to be some specific questions. So let's take this banner off the screen. Let's go to the comments. So sorry about that, guys. I was like, what is happening outside? Paul was here. He was here before I was even awake this morning. Good morning, Paul. I brought the donuts and the tacos. Ken says, morning all. Hopefully everyone is doing well today. So far, so good. Abe Froman says, good morning from a stifling Mashville. Brought sausages. Abe says, editing and mastering would have been my first vote, but now that I broke down and got Audition, I'm struggling with it. To be fair, I did just get it last night. Anytime you get anything new, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge to relearn, because if you did what I did and started with Audacity and then moved to Adobe Audition, it's going to be a new language, right? But a lot of the functionalities are the same, just labeled, they have different terminology. So once you discover that, it was like, oh, this does, okay, that makes more sense. It'll come to you. But I think, for me anyway, most of the people that I was following on social media and on YouTube were using Adobe Audition. So it made it really easy for me to apply directly what they were saying when they were talking about voiceover or audiobook specific editing processes or things. So if they were telling me that, hey, I suggest to do this, I can directly take what they said and apply it to my situation, because we're using the same DAW. So that's a definite benefit for you, Abe. But I would just, play around with it and try some new things. And I guarantee you're going to come to find you're like, why did I wait so long to get Adobe Audition? Give yourself some time, though, because, there's a learning curve to anything new. Caesar's here. Hey, Caesar, how you doing with the storm over there? Is it past? Oh, hi, Angela. Seeing as, well, I have no real setup challenge, I decided to pick mic or gear selection, because you need to stop buying them is your problem. Choices. I'm on the next phase of my gear upgrade path, and I'm very excited. I'm adding a second compressor to my analog hardware chain for better dynamics control, a console grade audio interface, and a Loughton Clarion, a mic I've had literal dreams of for the last 3 years. I'm surprised it wasn't a U87. That's usually everybody's dream mic. It's mine. All this serves is being able to optimize the signal chain in the analog domain well before it gets converted to digital, optimizing workflow using less plugins and just sounding really damn nice. But before I start waxing poetic, too late. Hello, everyone. I survived a hyper typhoon and have power internet back. Yay! And needed the retail therapy. Buy stuff, feel better, my mom used to say. That's dangerous. Abe says, you're too smart for me, Caesar. I'm still in the basics. Keep in mind, Caesar started where we all did. We all start at the same place. It takes time, discipline, maybe boredom. I don't know. Maybe. And then at some point you get it all, right? Everything just becomes common terminology. Just, you'll get there, Abe. You'll get there. Abe says, everybody needs to Google Clem Fandango and watch the clips. It is hijinks in the sound booth. Another great YouTuber to watch, especially if you're looking to purchase a new microphone and you want to kind of see what the differences are, is Booth Junkie. Go to Booth Junkie. Search up Booth Junkie here on YouTube after this live stream, not right now. Later, just write it down and check it out later if you haven't already. But he is a great channel to watch because he goes through a lot of technical product demonstrations. Like he'll go through and do side-by-sides of different microphones, interfaces. He'll try out new software and things so you can see how it works, if it's worth it, or in the mic's case, on the microphone side of things, you can see what they sound like, and then he'll let you know, a fair comparison. It's kind of how I discovered there was the Synco D2, which is basically the, I don't want to say knockoff, but it's a cheaper version of the 416, which came out maybe 3 months after I bought the 416, and it sounds almost identical for a fraction of the cost. But that's okay. I'm happy with it. Caesar says to Abe, but you have sausages, so that's a plus. But that aside, I started as basic as everyone else. USB mic, untreated spare bedroom, lace curtains. Took a while to get to where I am now. Same. I started recording on a laptop with a Blue Yeti mic in the middle of my living room on a glass dining room table. Shows you how much I knew in the beginning, which was zero. I learned by doing. I learned by trial and error. I learned by falling on my face a lot. That's natural progression of things. It's just how we learn. But if you, as I said before, join those groups, network with people that may have been doing this for a little while, or people who are at the place where you want to be, then you will learn a whole lot faster. But there's no better way of learning than by just doing, by trying, get, hands-on, because you'll retain much more of the information. You can try different things and see what works and what doesn't, especially when it comes to effects and things, because again, everybody's space is so individualized. There's going to be so many variations from studio to studio, from person to person, equipment to equipment, room size to room size. There's just too many variations. So you have to try some things or hire somebody to help you. Those are pretty much the options. Caesar says, regarding what microphone would you recommend to a new audiobook narrator? If budget is constrained, an Audio-Technica AT2020 USB XP. When ready, an Audient ID4 plus a Rode NT1 signature is a good XLR and a good XLR cable. I would have to say, after I discovered that my Blue Yeti wasn't ultimately going to cut it, and I moved into this room, I upgraded to a Rode NT1. Was it an NT1 or an NT1A? I think it was an NT1. Maybe it was an NT1A. I can't remember now. And a Focusrite Scarlett Solo interface. And I rocked with those for a long time. And then I also upgraded my cables, to Caesar's point, to Megami Gold. And you can find all of these things and some of these great recommendations on my website. If you go to voiceoverangela.com and go to the VO Gear page, all of these things that we're probably going to touch on today, or most of them anyway, are going to be on that page, and that way you can see, it'll take you right to the Amazon. You can see how much they are, more information, all the things. But that's pretty much what I started with too. The Scarlett Focusrite Solo, the Rode NT1, and Megami Gold cables. Alternatively, get a Rode NT1 5th Gen and use it over USB first, then get an Audient ID4 and XLR cable later. That way you don't have to spend extra on a starter USB mic. Yeah, a lot of these microphones can either be plugged in as a USB or an XLR. They have that, they have two different cables, or two different outputs, right? So if you don't have an interface, you can use the USB cable to connect it. And then when you're ready, upgrade to an interface and then use the same microphone to plug it in as an XLR. It's pretty cool. Ken P says, I picked up a nice used Rode NT1 with mount from a failed podcaster. He didn't have the factory pop screen, but it was easy to get something from my favorite online retailer. Of course, they don't have to be brand new. You probably find a lot of great gear. There's actually a Facebook group that's just used voiceover gear. I'm trying to remember what it's called, something VO gear, something like that. And then you also have Sweetwater.com also has a used gear marketplace. And then, of course, you got places like Macari and, stuff like that, where people are selling stuff locally, regionally. But if you can't, use it, try it first. I mean, you really take that risk with anything online. But there's a lot of options and places to buy these things pre-owned, so you don't have to buy them brand new if you don't want to, if you just want to kind of try it out.